Okay, so this is going to be try number 2 on this Edge-lit LED sign little tutorial. I belong to a Facebook group, and Nick threw me a picture that he wanted to see made into this. I think it's just a page out of a coloring book of a Baby Yoda, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm creating my new job, and it's 12 inches by 12 inches because this is how I buy my acrylic. And it's a 120 thousandths thick, which is 1/8 of an inch. I put 121 to just give me a little extra down cut, I guess you could say, to cut all the way through the material. It just works for me. XY datum doesn't really matter for what I'm doing, but we're going to go ahead and put it in the center. I can normally put about 2 or 3 of these LED edge-lit signs on one piece of material. That's why I use this as a template. So let's just go ahead and click OK for that. So now let's go ahead and bring in our picture. We're going to go to File, Import, Bitmap. Here it is right here. Obviously that's way too big, but we'll get to that here in a second. First thing we need is vectors for this. So we're going to come over here. We're going to trace the bitmap. You can tell it's black and white. Preview. That actually looks really good because it's a clean picture. So we're going to apply and then close. And I'm going to go to layers, and I'm going to turn off the bitmap layer so I don't see it anymore. Now we're going to highlight all of this and press T for transform, and let's scale it down. So I'm using Camtasia to do video recording here off of my screen, and I can't use F9 to center, so I'm just going to use the little dot here to center it. And we're going to go ahead and hit close. It's roughly the right size. So I'm using the little black LED bases, the circle bases I get off of Amazon, so we have to measure the slot that the acrylic will fit down into. Now we need to know the width of the slot, or I guess you would say the length of the slot. The width is going to be just a little over 1/8 inch. Then we have to measure from the top of the base down to the top of the LEDs. And I've measured those, so we're going to do a rectangle down here. Let's just knock this out real quick. And the width is 2.816. And the depth, or the height, I guess you would say, is going to be 0.643. That's from the top of the black base down to the top of the LEDs. Apply and close. I can't center it, but what I can do is snap that there, bring it straight down. And so there's our basis, or base, I guess you could say. Now we have to give it some sort of outside border, and on the one I did before I did a circle, but I'm gonna switch this up and add a little bit more detail. So we're just going to give us a little rectangle to encompass. T for transform. Let's go ahead and bring this in. Bring this down because I'm going to want to put some text on it. And you know what? Let's play around with this a little bit. Let's do this. Take an arc from here to here. Bring it up. I'm going to press N for node. And I'm going to remove, or actually hit the wrong one. I'm going to go node. I'm going to go over this and press delete. So now this and this need to be joined. So I'm going to right click and join. Move endpoints. There we go. That will work. And I'll move this guy up just a little bit. And we're going to throw some text on a curve. So I'm going to make my curve. Get some text in here. say so that just throws it down here. Move this out of the way. We'll close this. We're gonna go, since this is highlighted, I'm gonna hold my shift button down and click that line. Text on a curve. And let's just see what this does if we do above curve. Doesn't look too terribly bad. I'm gonna do another slight curve here. And since I can't press F9 to center it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go T for transform. I can find out where the center is and just drag it over and make it pretty close. I'm using the arrow buttons to move it, so that'll work right there. And then let's just let's think of some text here. If I spell it wrong, that's on me. Alright, so we're gonna, since that's highlighted, let's just double click on it and drag it out here. We're gonna slap it right there. Do the same thing, text on a curve. Above curve, let's just see what it looks like. If we want, we can go on curve. Kind of like that. Close. Now I'm gonna do something a little weird, a little different. I'm going to come over here to my text. Let's find a blocky font. We'll do that one, and we're just gonna go test. I'll make it bold. Preview that. So now what I want is I want this to come down the side. So I'm going to draw me a line out here. We're going to do the same thing, and let's see if this works for what I want to do. We may have to do it a little different. Just apply. That'll work. Kept vertical. And let me pause this real quick. I got somebody coming in the door. I'll be right back with you. Okay, I'm back. So we got the test here, and I want it on this line. So I'm just going to do this the manual way. Break this out, convert to curves so I can do each one individually. Get them somewhat spaced apart. Now I'm going to group these. Now obviously I'm doing this really quick, but let's go ahead and group these. And I want these to stick out the side like that. So I'm going to highlight all of those, and then I'm going to offset these outwards. We're in inches, so I'm going to do, let's go 80 thou. Create sharp corners and offset. Actually, no, I don't like that. So let's highlight those and delete them. We're going to close, T for transform. I want to make them just a little bigger. We got that there. Now we're going to offset them about 80 thou. I'm gonna close. Now I need to trim. I don't want any of these lines. So we'll trim all of this. And we will trim that. That. So now we have a vector going around. And I did not take the time to make sure that my end mill will go in there, but we're just doing this for funds. So that's still one solid curve. Now I'm going to take the little piece that goes, this part goes down in my base, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Actually, this is really, really, really big. So before I do that, I am going to, and let's make this arbitrary sake. It's 5 inches wide. So let's go 4 inches wide. Apply. There we go. A little bit more manageable now. And I didn't want to include this because this has to be a certain size. So now I will go and, because the light will actually come up through this. So I don't need this line in here anymore. So I'm going to click here and go to node. Delete that, D for delete. So now we have this line, this line. We don't need this line. So we're going to go back N for node. Delete that. Now we need to select all this, or come here to join. So now that's all one piece. We do not want this line in it or this line in it. I'm going to close out of that. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check for open vectors, which really doesn't matter because it's an engraving, but I just like to check for them. And then I am going to duplicate vectors. No duplicate. Great. So now we're going to move on to toolpath. So come out here. I always like to pin the toolpath in place. So I am going to select all of this except the outside border, and we are going to do a quick engraving. If you want to know the details, I use a spring drag engraver. Here's how my tool is set up. You can pause it if you want to look at it and see. And we are going to do a outline first. I always like to do an outline first. This has nothing to do with my machine, so don't even pay attention to that. So we're going to calculate it. So it goes through and does a single line engraving on all of it first. Now what I want to do, let's uncheck this so we get all the lines over here on our screen to go away. Now we are going to do a fill-in. You'll see what I mean. I'm going to highlight that. Let's get that. And I'm going to want to fill, and I'm holding my shift button every time I click. Do that, do that. We're going to fill these in. Do that, do that. And here's where it can get really daunting or intimidating. You just have to go in and find out what really works for you. Don't want that one. Let's get that. Let's get. I'm doing a little bit more in depth on this one. Actually, no. Let's see what happens if we do this. I just deleted all that. So I am going to, for sake of this toolpath, I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to highlight that. going to highlight the test over here, and I'm going to group those. Now I'm going to select everything that's here except for the outside border, and I think that'll do it. Let's just see what it looks like. So we are going to do quick engraving. We're going to do a fill. I like to do a 45 degree, our same tool. Now, since I have all this selected, I'm going to hold my shift button down and click those, so that gets all of that, and calculate. Alright, let's go see what that looks like in our tool path. We're going to select both of these because we want to simulate both of them. And we are going to preview the tool paths. Doesn't look terrible, but let's up this just a little bit. The space in between the actual inscribes, or engraves, I guess you would say. We're going to reset preview, preview all toolpaths. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for a little bit of a gap in between all of the actual engravings. So we'll reset the preview, highlight both of them so you can see how there's more of a gap in the toolpath here. Let's preview all. Okay, that's kind of what I'm wanting. Not bad. I like to use a blue material color and then white for the actual toolpaths. It gives me more of an idea of what it's going to look like. So now, that's awesome. So now we have to do a toolpath for the profile. So we're going to go to Profile Toolpath. 121 because we're going all the way through our material. A 1/8 inch end mill. If you want to see what my settings are, that's what my settings are for that. And it hasn't cut us off yet. So now we're going to calculate. And since we're already in the preview, all we have to do is preview this toolpath because we have that one there. So preview visible. And if we double click this, it goes away. And let's reset that because we have to go back into this toolpath here, go back to our 2D view, and we need to add tabs. Let's do 50 thousandths in length and 50 thousandths in height, make them 3D toolpaths. We're going to edit it. So I want one there, one there, one there, one there, one in the middle. And always make these in places that's easy to sand off. Let's get one up there and one right there. Alright, let's recalculate that. Perfect. And let's select all of these just so we can preview all toolpaths. So there is our tab, 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 tab. That's what we're going to have to cut to get this out of the material, and then go back in and hand finish or hand sand these down. Now we are literally ready to save the files, save the G-codes, and send it to the machine. Hope this helps. One thing I will say is if we go back to the tool or the simulation, we can see that my tool is not big enough. So if we just come over here and draw the tool, it's a 1/4 inch. So we're going to go diameter 0.125, apply and close. So that's the size of the tool that we are cutting this outside profile with, and it is not big enough to get inside there. So it will not go inside there. and it's only big enough to get inside that much. So if we go back and look at our 3D view, we can see how it only fits in there, doesn't fit in there. And if we wanted to have that, we would have to go with a smaller tool or space these big or wide enough to where our tool can get inside there. It's not a big deal for what we're doing. So the purpose for these little lines here, so this is going to fit into our base, and our base is going to stop right here. This is to allow the light to actually engulf the rest of the acrylic. If it just went straight up and over, the light would not radiate, I guess is the right word, would not permeate the outside edges. So that's how I do it. Oh, I've totally screwed up. No, there's one thing we have to do before we can send this to the machine. And we're going to engrave this on the back side of the material, so the front side is smooth. So we have to mirror this entire thing. So we're going to, and let's get this guy out of here. We don't need that anymore. So we have to select all of this, come over here, flip horizontal, close. Now all we have to do is just double click our toolpath, recalculate, close, double click this toolpath, recalculate, close, double click this, calculate, close. Now we are ready to send the files to the machine and get it cut out. So let's just reset that preview, check all three of them, preview all toolpaths. Now we're ready to cut it. So I hope it helps.